Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're totally unpacking the heavily blurred lines between business analysts and product owners. And more importantly, we're going to look at how you can seriously elevate your impact. If you've ever felt like you're rowing a boat as hard as humanly possible, but the project is just going in completely the wrong direction, yeah, you're in exactly the right place. Let's get right into it. Okay, so let's dive into the super common dilemma that tech delivery folks face literally all the time. When you transition from early tech roles into business analysis, and then maybe you start picking up product owner responsibilities, man, the lines get incredibly blurry, right? Meetings overlap, expectations overlap. You've probably found yourself sitting in a refinement session thinking, wait a second, am I supposed to write this user story or are you? It can really leave you wondering where your job ends and someone else's begins. And honestly, that just leads to a ton of dropped balls and duplicated effort. And this hits the nail on the head. Most teams don't struggle because roles are missing, they struggle because roles are misunderstood. This thought brilliantly illustrates the core issue we're tackling today. Dysfunction on a delivery team, it doesn't come from a missing job title. It comes from a basic misunderstanding of what the job actually entails. When teams are misaligned, management usually tries to fix it by, hiring more people or slapping flashy new titles on the org chart. But what they really need is just basic clarity on who actually owns what outcome. So here's our agenda for the explainer today. We're going to cover 1, the delivery illusion, 2, roles versus responsibilities, 3, problem clarity versus value, 4, the senior mindset shift, and finally, creating real impact. Let's kick things off with section 1, the delivery illusion. Delivering features versus delivering value. In early projects, you might deliver everything perfectly as an output. Picture this, right? You spend months on a project. You wrote out all the detailed requirements, stakeholders signed off, and your dev team shipped the whole shebang exactly on scope, on time, and on budget. It feels like a huge win. But then, it goes live. And it is a total ghost town. User adoption is completely flat. So why does this happen? Well, because you solved what the stakeholder asked for, not what the end user actually needed. You successfully chased an output, but you completely missed the outcome. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this slightly uncomfortable truth. Delivery does not equal value. Just because you delivered a feature doesn't mean you delivered value. Beautifully written requirements do not guarantee a successful solution. You can be incredibly busy writing, a 50-page requirements document that just sits on a shared drive collecting digital dust. Let's be real. Being busy is definitely not the same as being effective. That brings us to section 2, roles versus responsibilities. Moving beyond the job title. The biggest mistake you can make early in your tech career is trying to just do the role. You aren't failing at documentation, you're missing the big picture by just trying to check boxes. Writing user stories, facilitating stand-ups, attending endless status meetings. Honestly, anyone can do those administrative tasks. True professionals step up to the real responsibility behind the role. That means challenging the why, owning the problem clarity, and actively driving value. It's that massive shift from just taking orders to actually providing direction. Now, think about how this overlap maps out. It's like a giant puzzle. Business analysts really must focus on problem clarity. That means deeply understanding the problem and analyzing the system impact. Product owners, on the other hand, have to focus on value ownership. They need to ruthlessly define priorities and maximize business value. And Scrum Masters? They own the delivery flow, enabling the team and removing blockers. But here's the secret. The absolute best professionals don't just stay in their little lane. They understand these distinctions, sure, but they expand their impact across these boundaries so that clarity and value are always tied together. All right, let's move to section 3, problem clarity versus value. Time to shift that focus. To really shift your mindset from an order taker to a strategic partner, we actually have to redefine value entirely. Value is not what you build. Value is the outcome it creates. It's never the feature itself. It's the measurable outcome that feature generates out in the real world. Seriously, if you can't define the value explicitly before you lock in the requirements, then your requirement just isn't ready. You need to know exactly what needle you're trying to move before a single line of code is written. Because instead of throwing a party for new feature deployment or, a smooth sprint review, success should only be claimed when you see real, tangible change. Problem solved, user behavior improved, business outcome achieved. Success is when customer effort actually drops, or task completion rates jump up by 20%, or maybe support queries decrease. That is what actual value looks like. And tracking that, that's for sure what gets you recognized as a top performer. Moving right along to Section 4, the senior mindset shift, thinking above your title. Experience does not make you senior. Thinking does. Man, this hits hard. I've seen folks with 10 years of experience still thinking like day one beginners, just waiting around for perfect inputs, avoiding conflict, completely sticking to their lane. And flip that around, I've seen absolute newcomers operating with massive impact just because they aren't afraid to ask the tough questions. You're valued for how you think, how you connect the dots, and how you challenge assumptions, not just what you type into a Jira ticket. Jumping straight to solutions is honestly the biggest mistake you can make. Imagine a stakeholder asks for this shiny new reporting dashboard. Within minutes, the team goes, "Awesome, let's build it." It feels super fast and responsive, right? But it's literally like putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm. You're just treating a symptom. If you don't hit pause and ask what underlying problem is actually driving the need for that dashboard, you might just build features that actively make the user experience worse by just adding more clutter. Clarity is not given. Clarity is created. We hear this complaint all the time, right? Oh, stakeholders are so difficult, they keep changing direction, they're never happy. Actually, scratch that. They usually aren't the problem. The real issue is that the problem wasn't defined well enough up front and nobody surfaced the hidden assumptions. Remember, clarity isn't just handed to you in a neat little PDF. You have to step up, facilitate those really tough conversations, and create that clarity yourself. And finally, Section 5, creating real impact. Actionable steps for your next project. Make this your absolute golden rule before progressing anything to development. Before locking any requirement, ask 3 things. 1, what exact problem are we solving? You gotta dig deep here and get past the surface level ask. 2, who benefits the most? If you don't know the user, you absolutely cannot build for them. And 3, what does success look like measurably? If you can't answer these 3 simple questions clearly, the requirement isn't ready, and the solution is 100% not ready to be discussed. So here's how you can elevate your impact today. Stop waiting for perfect requirements, challenge the unclear ones, and ask why. And please bring your past background into these discussions. Whether you were in customer support, pre-sales testing, whatever, use it to connect the business needs with the system realities. It's your superpower. And whatever you do, do not document anything until that core problem is crystal clear. Stop being just a busy scribe writing stuff nobody needs. So ask yourself this right now. In your last meeting, did you ask why, even once? Take a second to really think about it, because your ultimate value doesn't come from filling out templates. It comes from how you probe. If you weren't pausing the room to ask why a feature is needed or what happens if we get it wrong, you are missing out on your biggest opportunity to create real problem clarity. This perfectly sums up the whole shift. Doing the job is just being busy, writing requirements. Creating impact is connecting work to real outcomes. Doing the job is like being an hourglass, just letting time slip by while you fill out paperwork. Creating impact is the rocket, focusing your energy on the outcomes that actually move the needle. Ultimately, nobody remembers the 50 random features you delivered. They only remember the transformative outcomes you created. I want to leave you with this final kind of provocative thought. Take a look at your backlog right now. Really look at it. Are you delivering features or are you creating outcomes? Because the answer to that question dictates whether you're truly driving value or just going through the motions. Think about it and start creating that clarity today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and we will catch you in the next one.